It is 4:30 p.m. and I am calling this meeting of the Design Review Board to order. Recording Secretary, can you please call roll?
Thank you, Chair. Board Member Cook? Here. Board Member Huang? Absent. Board Member Liptak? Here.
He just showed up.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. All right. Board Member Weigel?
Here.
Board Member Wuthrich?
Here.
Vice Chair Sharon?
Here.
Chair Jones-Carter?
Present.
And with Board Member Huang making his way to the dais, let the record reflect that all board members are present.
Item 2, there is none. Item 3, Board Business. Statement of Purpose. The Design Review Board is charged with considering the location, design, site plan configuration, and the overall effect of proposed projects upon surrounding properties and the city in general. The board shall compare proposed projects to the general plan, any applicable specific plan, applicable zoning code standards and requirements, consistency of the project within the city's design guidelines, architectural criteria for special areas, and other applicable city requirements. Item 4, statement of abstentions. Do we have any abstentions? Seeing none. Item 5, scheduled items. We are moving on to the first and only scheduled item. Item 5.1, Concept Design Review, Santa Rosa Events and Conference Center Design Review, 620 3rd Street, DR 24-027, presented by Monet.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, board members. I'm going to present this concept design review for the Santa Rosa Event and Conference Center at 620 3rd Street. So, the applicant is proposing to construct a 4-story, almost 100 feet in height, and the size would be around 104,000 square foot for event center and conference center. The existing movie theater will need to be demolished as a result of this project, and then the proposal would be for a grand ballroom, exhibit hall and meeting spaces, and a pedestrian bridge connecting the adjacent parking to this conference center, and also it will have auditorium theaters. So the project is located right in downtown on 3rd Street. And here is where the existing movie theater is located. It's shown in that blue area. It's next to our Comstock Mall, which is like an alley there. The zone is CMU, consistent with the core mixed-use general plan land use designation. Here we have a site plan, shows alleys around the project and the buildings and the existing site. And here is the east elevation for the proposed project. I want to show you the proposed bridge on this area located on the 3rd floor, which will be connecting to the existing garage. And the roof proposed for this building will be in the shape of barrel, and the applicant wants to use a slide. It's called uncured copper. So it will be the material. It will be made out of copper to look like a barrel. And here is another elevation from the west side, which also you can see part of this roof will be overhanging over Comstock Mall alley. And here is the south elevation, and this one is north elevation facing 3rd Street. And this slide shows the roof elevation for the proposed roofing with the copper materials. Here is a section of the building that shows auditoriums and the conference spaces. And as you notice, the concept design review and it's not project, therefore is exempt from the CEQA. And with that, the applicant and the Planning and Economic Development departments are requesting that the Design Review Board provide comments and directions for the Santa Rosa Event and Conference Center project located at 620 3rd Street. The applicant and the architects are available here. They do not have any presentation, but they can use my PowerPoint if they have any presentations. Yeah, sure.
My name is Roy Nee, and I'm the managing partner of Comstock Commons LLC.
Can you speak up? I'm sorry, can you speak? You can raise the stand, thank you. Just speak a little louder.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are the owners of 620 3rd Street and the project sponsor. Thank you, Monet, for the PowerPoint presentation. My apologies, I did not bring one. I just have a brief statement to read out, and then I'd be happy to take questions. Just to add some highlights to what Monet said, our project is designed to both serve community cultural activities and provide attractive state-of-the-art high-technology conference and meeting spaces that can comfortably accommodate event functions of up to 2,000 attendees at a time. The Santa Rosa Events and Conference Center, as we are calling it, will become a premier destination for corporate, enterprise, and industry event planners seeking an exceptional venue. Our facility will be engineered to deliver maximum impact for immersive attendee experiences, as well as for harvesting real-time data informatics, enabling actionable event management and valuable marketing insights. This project will foster economic growth and enhance the vibrancy of the downtown area. Strategically located across from Courthouse Square, the center will offer unparalleled accessibility to shops, restaurants, offices, and many public facilities, making it an ideal venue for both local and regional events. By attracting significant foot traffic during year-round event program days and through hosting ongoing community and private productions in our two multi-purpose stage auditoriums, the Santa Rosa Events and Conference Center will help revitalize downtown Santa Rosa. Our Events and Conference Center will create numerous jobs, attract visitors, and provide a modern space for our community to thrive. It will itself be a major employer with its team of professionals that will manage, promote, and run the facility for dynamic and positive cash flows. Additionally, we plan to offer naming rights opportunities to major corporations or foundation entities, inviting them to partner with us in creating a facility that benefits everyone. While there is another project under consideration, we are confident that our proposal offers a great vision for our community. We are collaborating with local architects and engineers to ensure our design is innovative, sustainable, and reflective of community needs. And to bring this iconic civic initiative to fruition, we are seeking to forge a public-private partnership structure. Thank you for your time and consideration. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Before we do questions, I'd like to open public comment on this item. Recording Secretary, do we have any public comment?
If you are in the chambers and wish to make a comment, please make your way to the podium. You will have 3 minutes for your comment, and a countdown timer will alert you at the conclusion of that period.
Hi, I'm Dion King. I own the building that Towns is located in, right adjacent to the old cinema. And we need foot traffic downtown. We need viable people walking downtown, going to various restaurants, whatever businesses are operational. It's a ghost town right now. And it's scary. I come from San Francisco, and and it's pretty scary walking around down here. And even some of the shop owners, I asked directions, and they didn't know where the streets were. So it's strange. You need people downtown, and I support this project. I think it's a really intelligent, well-placed, well-designed, and well-configured. I support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, I am not seeing other members making their way to the podium.
I'd like to close public comment. Are there any questions of the board for staff or the applicant? And I'll start down here with Vic.
I don't have, I think I have comments, but no questions, so let's see if that holds true. So I'll wait.
And Drew?
No questions, just comments.
Henry?
I have a couple of questions. I think in your talk, you mentioned something about another convention center project. So I'm just wondering how the two will impact each other. And then I'm also curious, what types of conventions do you plan to attract? And how often are they going to be coming? Weekly, month? I mean, are we going to see capacity monthly, weekly, daily? And have we thought about parking? And then I'd want to learn a little more about the public-private partnership you also referenced.
Henry, you might want to ask him one at a time so he can.
So should I respond here?
Sure, sure.
Oh, okay. So, with the competing project, the other project, there really is no room, I believe, for two projects of this nature for this community. It's one or the other really has to forge ahead for the success of either of them that does make it to groundbreaking. Now, the vision for this project is that it will actually interest event planners, HR departments to host an event in Santa Rosa at this facility, and that these events will be year-round, ongoing, every week. At least one is envisioned, if not two. There are very few event centers, conference centers that can handle 1,000 to 2,000 attendees. For instance, the Moscone Center is capable of 50 to 60 or 70,000 attendees. So if you're at the 2,000 level, you're just taking a little corner. If you're at a hotel, you're more than likely just at maybe 500 or 600 or 800. So this area or this spot of 1,500 to 2,000 attendees is in a way not completely addressed. We would be something unique in terms of the architecture. I think something quite exciting for event planners to want to host that size conference event. So we're anticipating an active calendar booking We don't see it as just a one-off, once a month or every so often. We would actually see this thing bringing in active conventions and conferences throughout the year. The idea for the center is that it will bring a tremendous foot traffic to the downtown. I think the downtown is well situated to absorb 1,000 people or 1,500 for lunch or for dinner. I think it would bring a level of vibrancy that would be very stimulative for all the businesses. And in terms of parking, there are lots of studies on the parking. So for instance, if you have 2,000 attendees for a conference, they're saying, well, maybe the ratio is 1 to 8. Or for an exhibition, it could be 1 to 4. So the ratio is roughly maybe 500 to 300 parking spaces would be required for a full attendee activity at the building. Is there another question?
I was curious about the public-private partnership you envisioned.
Well, this is, as a civic project, this really requires public participation on many levels. And so we would be seeking to have discussions with the city or the city and the county in terms of participation on various levels of financing, for instance, on transit occupancy taxes, or in terms of actual dollar participation. However, the main source of financing is not from the public. The main source of financing would be private, is the way this is being imagined and structured. However, to actually make it a viable project, it actually has to have a strong public component. We see the city, if it is the city that participates in a public-private partnership, that there are levels of discussions that would be required to be threshed out in terms of all the various metrics. We do not see this project as a money loser. We actually see it as bringing at least a muni bond return, if you will, to investors and to the public side as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael, do you have any questions?
A couple for the applicant. You mentioned the attendees would go to the restaurants adjacent, so there's no plan for like an interior kitchen for the conference center? For the conference center, there's no plan for a kitchen?
If there's a kitchen?
Yeah.
Indeed, there is, in order to do catering and to provide banquet opportunities for the facility. There's actually the kitchen will encompass, I believe, around 2,000 square feet or more.
Okay, and then the roof material on the barrel, I think you're calling it uncured copper. Have you ever used that on a project before?
Is it what?
The roof material, the copper, have you ever used that on a project before?
Well, so we've identified the outfit that will provide and install the space frames barrel vault structure. They also have the capability of installing the copper sheets for the roofing. These folks are out of Illinois, and this is what they do for a living. They've done, the major sports stadiums and even the Transit Mall in San Francisco recently. So the copper sheathing will, I think, be very long-lasting. They say over 100 years. But the remarkable thing about the uncured copper is that it develops a striking patina in coloration. And so that alone will give the structure quite a remarkable appearance and have an aliveness of its own through time. So the imagination for a barrel vault, it's really never been done for a conference facility. In fact, there's no other barrel vault of what we're proposing anywhere in this country. And the space on the interior will be absolutely dramatic. The video wall that we envision for the stage has the capability, a potential of being 70 feet wide by 30 feet high. We're looking at the technology of micro LED, which is the most current technology for video and immersive screen viewing. The resolution is second to none.
Okay, thank you. So I was just worried with the curing of the copper and what it would maybe do to the material on the ground below.
There's really nothing that is required on the curing for maintenance, as I understand. If you take a copper pot and you don't polish it, it starts to develop its own patina or coloration. And that's will be similar to how this roofing membrane would behave. The actual outcome over time is hard to predict what color will actually emerge, but I'm sure it will be quite interesting.
Right, and I was just worried about the staining on, say, the concrete below from that curing process.
You mean from
Like
rain?
from
dropping?
rain, yeah.
I'm not sure about that. That's something that we would have to analyze and understand if there would be residual droppings from rain of the copper chemical patina interaction.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question is just, have you talked to any of your neighboring properties to, say, make this a bigger conference center, or have you looked at other opportunities to make it a bigger conference center, like talking to the other property owners?
My apologies. I'm having a hard time hearing what exactly you're saying.
Have you talked to other neighbors to see if you can make the property larger? Project larger.
Oh, I
sorry.
see, to adjoin with other properties. I haven't. The way I got involved with this was via Hugh Futrell, who he and I went into contract, and I asked him what he was thinking about, and he told me about doing a design for a conference center, and it seemed to me quite an interesting project. And then he added the Bank of America site, and so his design was to basically do a horizontal conference center, and he modeled it after the need that was identified in the HVS study that I believe the Sonoma County Tourism Bureau initiated. When he showed me his design, I thought that, well, if it's possible, I would give him a critique and see if we can't go vertical. And so it didn't occur to me to add the B of A site. I think it could be added, but I don't know for what reason in this dynamic. However, it doesn't necessarily fit that you go out, that you'll gain more. The 4 levels that I'm proposing actually work quite well for a dynamic conference that actually has and will need or could use an exhibition hall, its own ballroom, another dedicated theater for other presentations, and then basically another 15,000 feet for meeting spaces.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sorry, I have one more question for the applicant. In the description, or I think maybe even the staff report, it mentioned that there was a landscape plan for the ground floor, and I didn't see that in the package.
Right. The basic lobby and the ground floor has window walls on 3 sides, on the north, the east, and the south, and we inset a kind of a landscape element planter area on the outside, and then on the east side we create a interior landscape area, but we don't identify planting types or this and that at this stage. However, the intent is that we bring green elements to this basically steel and concrete facility to soften I think the environment as much as possible. And we're also looking at redesigning Comstock Mall itself and the walkways going basically down to Santa Rosa Avenue and from 3rd over to First. I think all of that would need to be landscaped and to open up the area and to make it more pedestrian bike friendly.
Okay, that's exactly what I was asking about in your project description. You mentioned that, so that's to be developed.
Right. In our pre-conference application with the planning department, we discussed some of these issues, and they seemed quite open to having that as part of this overall project, is to bring that whole area to life, more or less, to make it a more active walkway and a friendlier walkway. And so part of our initiative was to put a cafe on the outside of the ground floor theater, as you perhaps can see in the schematic drawings.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions for the applicant. I had 2 questions for staff. For a project like this, a convention center, what would the requirement for parking be?
So the project is in downtown. If I'm correct, no parking is required
No parking.
for downtown uses. But when, correct us? Yes. Yeah. And then just also think about there's next to the garage space, so they can use also that spaces for the parking.
Okay. Do we know how many parking spaces are in that?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
My last question is just about process. So they're here at concept design review, right? And there was no analysis done by staff. Do they come back for final design review?
Yeah, this will require a major design review and also a minor use permit for the proposed use. And I just realized we have Chad from Parking Division here. He can answer your parking question.
Yeah, please.
Apologize, I just came to watch, but Garage 9 has 434 spaces, which is the one right there diagonal to it. Garage 5 has 202. I think Garage 12, which is the one right behind the Roxy, very close, has 734 spaces, so should be plenty.
Thank you.
And Ernest. I'm sorry. And Drew. Sorry.
Thanks, Moni. Yeah, while we were talking, I came up with a couple of questions, so I apologize. I know staff hasn't looked at this yet, but what's the FAR on the property? Do we know? Because the downtown station area plan is all FAR now.
Let me check it.
All right, cool. Thanks, Monet.
Drew, can I interrupt you for a second? Could you define FAR for
floor area
public?
ratio. Yeah,
The
sorry.
public?
FAR is floor area ratio, so it's a calculation of how much of the property is being occupied by building and then how vertical it is, basically. And there's a number in the zoning code which determines effectively how much of the property the building can occupy based on how tall it is, more or less. So while you're looking that up, I have a second question for the applicant. Excuse me. So I noticed that the highest point of the building is 96 feet, it appears. How tall are the surrounding buildings? Like, I mean, I know the B of A building is only 2 stories, so it's probably like, I don't know, 30 feet maybe. The existing building is probably 30 feet, but like what used to be the Bank of Marin building, which is next to it, like how tall is that, I guess is what I'm kind of getting at. Have you looked at the surrounding building heights and how this interplays with that?
We haven't gotten the data for the height of the office building. I believe that's across from the B of A. That appears to be about 6 stories. The B of A may be in the 30 feet range. The parking garage is 30 foot at the deck. We would definitely be about as high as the office building across the street that fronts Courtyard Square. You know, perhaps our 98 feet will be 10 feet or so higher, or 15, but not much more than that.
Board member?
98.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I think he answered my question.
Okay, the FAR for this area is 8. Majority of areas in downtown are FAR 8.
Cool. All right, awesome. So just for members of the public, a higher FAR is good. It means you can go for, what is it, 8 times the square footage of the property is basically what the FAR is? Yeah.
It is, but that's also a matter of opinion. So if we can keep it on track, that would be great. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. FAR is complicated, is my point. So tied to that, it appears that this building is like on the property line. Am I reading the drawings correct? That you've gone effectively all the way to the edge of the property line?
Pretty much, we're at the property line.
Okay. So then if you're, and then this may be a question to staff. So if this building's all the way to the property line and then the surrounding walkways, are they owned by the adjacent properties, or are they owned by the city, or what, or is it a combination of the two?
So I know the Comstock is owned by the city, but if I'm not wrong, there are a couple properties that there are easements between them. And when they submit the application, we will know. But based on our pre-application, I heard there are some easements, like a walkway shared between couple properties.
Okay, so that answers my question in terms of adding another layer of complexity to figuring this out. So then this may be a question for staff also, or the applicant, but the large overhang on, what is it, the north side and the south side, really, they're both well beyond the property line. What is allowing that from a zoning code perspective, or, you know what I mean?
When the project gets submitted, those areas will need to be reviewed because they might require some encroachment permit, but at the time the project is being reviewed by building and engineering, that will be determined. I cannot answer that question right now.
No, that's okay, Monet. I'm asking the question because it's a concern about the project, right? Moving forward, like where does that come into play in the process? And you know, going past a property line typically it has lots of consequences from both zoning, entitlement, encroachment, so on and so forth. And that's why I'm asking it. So those are my questions. Thanks, Melanie.
All right, Adam.
Yeah, excuse me. Just one question or clarification from staff. I think we're gonna have a wide-ranging conversation, and just to provide some guardrails, just can you guys just talk about our purview here tonight and exactly what we're looking at in terms of the project? You know, one of the things I'm wondering about is just, you know, like viability of a convention center on this site. I don't believe is within our purview. You know, like it is related to the project, but we're here for design review. But just so staff can describe that for us.
Thank you. Yeah, tonight what we're looking for specifically, and these plans are very high-level design. We're looking for some direction in terms of the design of the project, not how it functions, not its operating standards or anything. All of that, when it comes into when the formal project is submitted to planning, we're going to forward those plans out to a whole lot of people that are going to look at the water consumption, whatever easements might be required, whatever alternative permits, everything. But really, what's in front of the board tonight is a concept plan, and we're looking for your design direction, exterior design direction. If it's influenced by something that's happening on the interior, fine, but exterior design. So, and that includes landscape and sidewalk, you know, the surrounding building area as well, immediately surrounding.
Thank you, Susie, and yeah, thanks for reminding us. High level, thanks. And that's all for me.
Right, we're moving on to,
I think Vic had a couple.
oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Nope,
But Susie clarified things.
okay. All right, we're moving on to, I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to ask this question or not, but I think I'm just going to leave it in my head. So we're moving on to comments. So I will start down here with Vic.
Okay. So I think the concept, the vertical, the placement of a vertical conference center in downtown, that's exciting. I think that's very exciting. I think the idea of keeping it really is oriented to the pedestrian. The pedestrian is going to be walking to this, and all of the plans indicate that. So I think there's a lot to say, yeah, this is exciting, let's see what happens. I think the form is not anywhere near what it needs to be. The barrel vault is clunky. The barrel vault is out of place, to my mind, in downtown Santa Rosa, especially given that this is going to be one of the highest buildings. It speaks of an arena. I mean, that's like or a big gym. It does not speak of a wine barrel, which is not a cylinder. I don't need to, you know, the copper. I don't have to comment on the copper because I'm very, very concerned about that, the vault, and not only formally, which is my main concern is formally, but then the repercussions of that form, which include occupying space beneath it, particularly the top floor, is a very difficult thing to do with respect to sound, vision, lighting. The idea of a big, beautiful, compelling space. I really, really like that. I don't think the barrel vault is the answer, though. And it doesn't have, I'm looking for a distinction that makes it Santa Rosa, not just a distinction that makes it a one-off in, you know, like, it's the only barrel vault in Sonoma County. How does it make our downtown fabric? And I think Dion is right. We really need to occupy that fabric. But how does it weave into it right now, it just needs more, it needs formal work. Thank you. Thank you for coming up with the idea.
Henry, do you have any comments?
I don't have any at this point.
Michael?
Yeah, I appreciate the drawings and I appreciate the effort. I think it's a very unique idea. I like the vault. I've been to a lot of conferences and I think this would be a really unique building. I would agree it doesn't necessarily yell Santa Rosa, but I don't know if a civic building has to yell Santa Rosa, or a conference center has to yell Santa Rosa. I think the improvement of downtown, the capital improvements that this could create in our downtown, support businesses that are nearby, I think all of that are positive. And then when I attend conferences all over the state and even the country, like I don't have a car, so I'm not that worried about how many parking spaces we have. So I mean, I would support, I like the design. I'd love to see more information about the copper and about, the skin and how that weathers and where those I don't think it's chemicals, but where the runoff from the roof goes. I'd also love to see Comstock Mall renovated and hope that could be part of this project. It is, a rundown kind of paseo, and it'd be really nice to kind of tie in the paseo of Comstock Mall with the transit center. I do think that you should consider including the Bank of America site, because I think if you did that, then the convention center would be a lot easier to find for people not from Santa Rosa. You'd have a corner location right off of Courthouse Square. The hotel that's closest to the proposed convention center is Hotel E. It's right across Courthouse Square. It just kind of like would tie everything together. And so overall, I'm supportive. I'd love to see more vegetation and more ground treatment. But I do like the vault and I do like the copper.
Drew?
Thanks, Melanie. I would agree with my colleagues. I think that conceptually this is a really intriguing prospect, especially for a site that's kind of tucked away. And so it's kind of trying to leverage something that you wouldn't normally be able to kind of get to. So I think conceptually there's a really interesting kind of use for this site. I would agree with Mike. Connecting this more directly to the square will likely make it easier for people to interface with this facility. And I think, to echo Mike again, there needs to be a procession of entry, right, to a facility of this nature. Right now, there is no procession. It's just kind of like, oh, hey, there's a building, smack, right? Because everything is vertical on this building. There's no pedestrian experience to go up to the building. So whether you find a way to include an additional site or you just utilize your site, I don't think you can build all the way to the boundaries of the edge of your property with a building that just goes vertically, because there is no pedestrian experience to move in there. And the design guidelines about the downtown station area plan, one of the primary elements in there is the pedestrian experience, right? It's front-facing pedestrian experience and ground floor interface, right? And so there are elements of that starting to happen on your plan here. on the north side against the Comstock Mall, you've got this really kind of what is probably a nano wall, right, of some type with all the doors that can open up and spill that theater lobby out into the Comstock Mall. I mean, I think that's a really compelling idea to connect that pedestrian element with the interior of the building. I mean, that's fantastic, but I don't think it's very well executed on the other three sides of the building, which obviously need to happen considering that there are large pedestrian spaces on all sides of this building. I really think you need to, if you want to provide a theater, at least as I'm seeing this, I'm not understanding what type of theater this is, right? Is this like the type of theater where there's a sunken orchestra pit, where there's, the type of production level that you're seeing in larger cities, or is this like the community playhouse theater? 18 feet for the ceiling height for that sort of theater feels to me like a community playhouse theater or a movie theater, right? But if you're talking about a world-class facility with high technology, it needs to be that. And so I like the idea of a theater, and then that theater could then be reflected externally on the form of the building and how the building goes vertically. I think that's the case with the exhibit spaces on the next floor, which have yet to be programmed, and then this exhibit hall with the barrel vault. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the barrel vault because I think it's not well executed right now. If it were to be refined and more detail and attention given to it, it could be a really compelling and interesting structural and architectural feature. I think it's just not at that point yet, right? And if we're talking about it reflecting a wine barrels are not completely symmetrical. They are asymmetrical by nature. And I think that there's an opportunity here because you have some asymmetry already on the axes of the building to build asymmetry into the structure of this vault. But which is challenging. I think, some of the interior spaces work well, some of them don't work well. I think you need to go back and look at how the interior spaces transition between one another, how bathrooms are located, stuff like that. Work with your architect to kind of envision a better procession internally of the building, and that may elucidate the external form a little bit more. And I think there's a lot of information lacking, right? The only thing we know about is this copper roof. And I think copper roofs are super cool, right? I mean, the museum, the art museum in Golden Gate Park has a copper roof. The DeYoung, thank you. The DeYoung has a copper roof, and it's patinaed, and it's super cool looking. So copper roofs are very cool, and they can be compelling and interesting. I don't think it's fully flushed out here. And then there's another, I think it's in the zoning code, but it's also in the design guidelines about stepping the building back. This is a unique site because it's not on a road, right? And most of the requirements talk about step backs on roads related to the downtown station area plan and some other elements. But I think this needs to step back. Again, pedestrian experience, volume of the building. So I think there's a lot of work to be done here from a design perspective. I mean, if this design were to come forward, I would very much vote no, even though the idea of the site is extremely compelling. And I think that's what's so unique is it's, you came to us with a compelling idea conceptually, but the architecture is not there yet. And I think that's what I'm struggling with, is this really phenomenal idea about how to make Santa Rosa a better place, how to make it a hub, all of these things, but the architecture doesn't match that vision. So, thank you.
Thank you. Ernest.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this one forward. And I'll try not to reiterate what's already been said. The one thing that has been mentioned that I think is important for this area is right now, that whole area, especially along Comstock and all this adjacent walkways, very much feels like the back sides of buildings. And it's somewhere where you really want to walk through kind of quickly. And I think what's been done, and especially on the floor plan, site plan, of trying to open up those areas, what was discussed about the pedestrian experience, it is kind of getting there. It looks like it could be exciting where people would want to stop through and provide that outdoor experience, except for what still feels like a leftover space, which was kind of shown on the west elevation. It really feels like all four sides of this thing is going to be, could be a potential walk-through or something where people will walk. You know, if the idea is that people are going to walk to dinner afterwards, people are going to be parking across the streets and be coming through. Sorry. It really feels like we should consider not having a backside, even though it looks like it really is going to be where, you know, some roll-up doors and that kind of thing. The consideration that we should be providing that pedestrian experience all the way around. Outside of that, I think it is a unique structure that could be taken in that space. So thanks for bringing it forward.
And Adam?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, staff, and thank you, applicant, for bringing this project and proposal to us. Yeah, as you can hear from all of my colleagues, were supportive of the idea, the concept of bringing this down here. We definitely heard from the neighbor that we need activation. We need a lot of activation in the downtown area, and specifically in this this compound of buildings. I think for me, I can frame my comments actually in terms of there's some urban design and how the urban design actually relates to the form that you've brought us. Because one of the things that was striking about the design, I do like the idea of barrel vaults. You know, I think from what I can surmise of how you got to the form is that you use the interior and the programming as the really organizing concept, and then we have the form is kind of dictated from that, with the exterior form of that barrel of trying to have local context of some sort. So I feel it was driven by the convention center rather than, well, I won't frame it that way. I won't frame it as a negative. I think that it's perfectly necessary to do that. I think one thing you can do as you're moving forward in the next phase of design is to break down those walls and to actually look past the site and to think of this as you are. The way that I see the most successful convention centers or downtown campuses or even public-private partnerships, things like that, you know, thinking down of like SOMA and the Moscone Center, you know, definitely challenges there. But it's an interesting way to think about a neighborhood, to think about an area of town as a campus. And all of these parts are working together. You talk about public-private partnership, but you have to talk with your neighbors and talk with everyone else. So you've programmed the space. I think next what you need to do is think about how it's going to relate to everybody else, the city. You know, you're relating to convention goers and tourists, and that's great. That's bringing people in. But it's also going to be a local amenity too. You're creating, if this as proposed, you're creating, you know, basically one of the biggest structures in town, most eye-catching from everywhere, with a really interesting eye-catching, you know, that patina is going to be great. One of the things about the Young is it's amazing. It turns different colors throughout the years. This is would be really great, but you need to design for convention goers and locals as well, because it's going to be, you know, part of the city. And so how the form that you've come up with kind of exemplifies that some of that disconnect to me is that you've got your square rectangle here, and then you've got the cylinder put on top, and they're just mushed together. I actually don't see the barrel and the rest of the building actually talking together. I want more cohesion with your design before it actually gets to the city as well. I'd like to see on your parcel, to see a really, you know, a well kind of placed, good circulation, all of these cool tech amenities that you're bringing, and but then also have it be the exterior be beautiful and interesting from the outside, and then also it is related to what's around here. One of the things about this Comstock area is that it's got canyons, and it's got these big edifices. They're not that big. They're like, I think 2 and 3 stories, but they feel like they're 100 feet tall. Because you've got everything's brick and stone, everything's paved. Like Mike mentioned, we've got some trees along there, but we need more greenery, we need more landscape, we need something to bring it in. And so with this design, I think that you can have your buildings talk more to themselves and then to the city as a whole too. The organizing principle of the barrel is convenient because it relates to wine country. We are relentlessly marketed as wine country, but Sonoma County is way more than just wine as well. And so these, all of the conventions that you're bringing in are not all going to be wine. I mean, we've got biotech, we've got cannabis, we've got, everything that's here. There's huge things that are happening. And so I think that you can kind of broaden your design concept and your organizing concept a little bit to really talk to, take these great ideas of bringing this activation in, and then really now think of it as an urban design exercise. And now you're talking to your neighbors, you're talking to the, and it's literal talking, but then figurative talking too. I want your design to actually reference the city and reference our natural context. Maybe it's not a barrel, maybe you reference Mount St. Helena, the form of that, something like that. Or you reference the ocean horizon or something that we've got here. Just things like that, just throwing out some other ideas. So I think that the idea, the concept that you're bringing is really great. But now, if this is going to be a successful convention center, it's got to be knit into the city, both locals and convention goers. And so, yeah, it's a pretty exciting thing that you're bringing, and the potential is amazing. So I encourage you to think really creatively and really engage. Public processes also. Talk to the neighbors. There's people that live downtown. There's going to be a lot more people living downtown very soon, hopefully. And so, take what you've got and then really just continue that engagement, because this is not going to just be a convention center operating on its own. As you mentioned, you're going to bring in 1,500 people, and then those 1,500 people are going to spill out into downtown. And where are they going to go? What are they going to do? We need to be part of a whole. So think about that. But nice work. Thanks for bringing this. I look forward to seeing you when it comes back.
And Henry.
I like the barrel vault design. I think it looks nice. My main concern is the overhang. Is it just overhanging and then encroaching on another property? It looks like from the drawings that there's actual structure on the adjacent property. That's my main comment with regards to the overhang. But I do like the barrel vault. I think it's such a unique building that you don't necessarily need to incorporate another property into this project. I like it as a standalone project. So thank you very much for bringing this forward.
I think it's me. I like the project idea, the concept. I too, when I first saw it, thought it could be better. I'm not an architect, so I don't have specific things on what is better, but I want this to happen, but I want it to blend in and be Santa Rosa. And this, to me, doesn't exhibit that. I do love the copper. I think it could fit in some other elements maybe. And I agree with Adam that the roof just doesn't feel like it fits into that design as it is presented right now. And those are my final comments. But I do want to thank you very much for bringing your design to us. I think we're all excited about the prospect of this coming to us. It's something that's really needed. We all agree that our downtown needs to be revitalized as much as possible and get as many people down there as possible. So we're all looking forward to seeing this come back to us, and we hope that we have given you enough comments that you can come back with a design that we can approve, because we'd like to do that. Does anyone have anything else? All right. So this item is for discussion and direction only. No action will be taken on this item. Thank you very much. I'd like to adjourn this meeting of the Design Review Board.